Live from the 607, it's the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking everything going on in the world of sports. Join in the conversation on social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go.
Instead of looking deep inside, every word I have to say, keep it simple.
Welcome to an all-new edition of the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. What is happening, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us this week. My name is Ken M. Joining me in studio, as always, you know him. He is the co-host. His name is Padawan J.
Hello, hello, hello.
Folks, we have a lot to talk about in the land of sports, and we definitely want to interact with you, so make sure to swing on over to odphpodcast.com. Join the conversation on the social media accounts. They're all right there on the front page. Check out the directory, the classifieds, parlay points, new blogs dropping this week, the T Public Store. All that and so much more is at odphpodcast.com. And always remember to use the hashtag ODPHpod. Kicking off this edition of the podcast, though, it is playoff time in the NFL. We have to recap the week that was, and man, there were some storylines coming out Wild Card Weekend. So, Pad, why don't we start with the game that kicked off the weekend, shall we?
Yeah, so that game obviously was the Oakland Raiders and taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. Of course, the Cincinnati Bengals making it to the playoffs for the first time in, about 5-6 years? Something like that. Mm-hmm. And you had the Raiders obviously making the return after making the run in the playoffs after the let's call it a tumultuous season. A lot of headlines, not all of them good. And you had the Cincinnati Bengals emerge victorious, not without some controversy, though, by the final score of 26-19. Joe Burrow, 24 of 34 for 244 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. And then on the flip side, Derek Carr, 29 of 54, 310 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception.
The one thing about Las Vegas, I always want to say Oakland, too. The Raiders definitely came with their A game. They definitely were being scrappy. But unfortunately, there's a game moment that is haunting everything about this. And you have to say it was the defining moment of this game. Mm-hmm. And that is when the Bengals were going for a touchdown late in the second quarter.
Yep.
And the whistle was blown while the ball was in air.
Uh-huh.
Now, it was caught by Tyler Boyd.
Yep.
And the reaction he did was the reaction I think we all had at home, because if you listen to the replay, it's 3rd and 4.
Yep.
Burrow is scrambling. The ball is released. The whistle is clear as day.
Now, having not watched the game, I've seen the highlight, but having not watched the game, devil's advocate, do we know that wasn't official, and are we sure it wasn't somebody from the stands? Because that has happened in the past.
As far as I've been able to track down, because I like how you brought that up too, I have been trying to track this down. From all points that I've been able to get, that is an official whistle.
Because I know there was a game in the NBA recently where, or maybe it was college, where they were in the middle of a play, somebody from the stands blew a whistle, and literally everyone just stopped, and the refs got together and they're like, "Wait, did you blow that? No, I didn't blow that whistle. Did you blow that whistle? No, I didn't blow that whistle."
No, this was a situation. It was legit.
Okay.
And you could definitely tell by Boyd's reaction in the end zone.
Yeah.
Of, wait a sec.
I think he even shrugged. It wasn't any of the usual antics you might expect with, a playoff touchdown for a team that hasn't been in the playoffs for quite some time. Of, celebrate and get the team together. Something wacky and wild. It was just kind of he's walking back towards the front part of the end zone and, kind of shrugging, wait, what?
Well, that's the one thing that you have to really take into account. And this was deflating, too, because anytime the whistle is blown,
yep,
it doesn't matter when, the play is ruled dead. You can't say, oh, we didn't hear it, because you can definitely tell by the reaction of the players. They heard it.
Yeah. There
was a penalty. They wanted to stop it. Here we are.
Some scenarios in some stadiums, I can imagine you can get away with that, Kansas City being one, Seattle being another. But no, you could hear it clear as day.
Yeah, I mean, that is the biggest thing that definitely threw the momentum off, because in that moment, you have to say everything kind of changed.
Uh-huh.
And you can't say that it didn't. You have to really look at how every team responded after that. The Bengals knew they got away with one. There's no way to say they didn't. You can't say anything otherwise.
Because I even heard a story. I don't know if it's true. I heard a story that the Bengals sideline got asked if they heard the whistle. And what the hell do you think they're going to say?
Yeah,
they're not going to sit there and go, "Oh yeah, I heard a whistle." No, they're going to say no.
Right. So once the official blew the whistle, it should have been returned to the spot. And there should not have been a touchdown. You can go through every single analyst has talked about this.
Right.
That is the rule of the game.
Yeah.
And when you just basically go past it, and I'm not saying like anything, the fix was in, any nonsense like that. This was just such an egregious call by the officiating team on there. This had implications for the rest of the game.
Because on the one hand, you got Cincinnati a little motivated by it, like, hey, we got luck or whatever otherworldly power you want to say on our side. Mm-hmm. And on the other hand, on the Raiders' hand, you've got them kind of doubting themselves, like, well, shit, can we really do this if the deck is stacked against us? And instead of moving past it and having elephant memory, I'll call it, and just forgetting about it, you've got some of them probably dwelling on it.
Yeah, it definitely haunted them the rest of the game. And for Joe Burrow and company, it was a solid win for them moving forward. Obviously, this is the first time they've been back since, dare I say, the Boomer Esiason days, 31 years.
Yeah, their last playoff game win was on January 7th of 1991. And in case you forget what the world was like back then, Michael Jordan had yet to win an NBA title.
Yeah.
Home Alone was the #1 movie at the box office. Madonna's Justify My Love was the #1 song in America. And they beat the Houston Oilers.
That is freaking nuts.
Also, there's about 4 different things, including DVDs, which hadn't been invented yet.
It's a wild thing to think about with Cincinnati because they've had flashes where they could have gotten there. I mean, obviously, we have to look at the Carson Palmer game where his knee went down.
Yeah.
I mean, that was probably their best shot of making a Super Bowl run they've had in a very long time.
Early Andy Dalton days.
Yeah, I mean, you have to really take a look at this franchise, which has been
tumultuous.
Tumultuous. That's a great word. Thank you. And that's the easiest way to describe them. And especially for how they pulled this off, a little bit of drama. But you have to say the Raiders had their chances to win this.
Oh, yeah.
They definitely scrapped. I think that they showed throughout this entire season and all the adversity that they've had, they never quit.
No.
They kept going forward. The only thing that I would criticize about them is in that final drive where Derek Carr led them down the field. I mean, this was probably one of his better games.
Yeah.
I just think that the play calling in that final series, they should have used Josh Jacobs a lot more than they did.
Yeah, I'll say Josh Jacobs only had 13 carries for 83 yards and no touchdowns.
Right, but when they got him the ball, even receiving 4 catches for 44 yards, he's a difference maker. That's what you need to do. Put the ball in your best playmaker's hands.
Yeah.
I mean, Hunter Renfrow is a great player. I mean, you can't take anything away from him.
No, hell no.
He has been a diamond in the rough this season. But in those kind of situations, why don't you kick it out for a screen pass to Jacobs? Or even we were talking with Rich from 3FN about this, and obviously you know how big of a Raiders fan he is.
Right.
He was even saying that's when you call the shotgun draw. And you would have caught him off guard because everybody was waiting for Carr to throw it in the end zone.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Why do you not just try running it? Even like, what are you going to lose? Because I know the first couple passes he was going through incomplete. Renfrow slipped at the one point, I believe.
Sure.
So it's one of those situations where your back is against the wall. You had Cincinnati having doubts, and you could definitely tell that they had doubts in that final series.
Oh, sure.
Because the Raiders wouldn't give up. And it's one of those situations where a young team like Cincinnati needs to learn how to close out games. The Raiders, the only thing they do know is how to survive.
Yeah.
And when they got down to the end zone and really was making a shot, Cincinnati was banking on this going to overtime. You can't tell me otherwise.
The Raiders, to me, are a lot like an alternate version of the Indianapolis Colts, where like they've got some good players. They got an okay quarterback. Derek Carr's not the greatest thing in the world, but he's all right. Mm-hmm. They got a good running back in Josh Jacobs, obviously. Indianapolis has got that stellar running game, and then you look at their receivers. It's kind of in the same way. So I would say the Raiders are the alternate version of the Indianapolis Colts because they win. It's not sexy, but they win.
Yeah, and at least they entertain you.
This is true.
Indianapolis, listen, I mean, there is textbook as they come. And it's not a slight. It's what they are.
Uh-huh.
But for the Raiders, they had their moments. They should have been able to pull this off. But I just think, unfortunately, the bad timing and play calling definitely came back to haunt them. And it ended what should have been an interesting game going in overtime that I think would have been something to really talk about. And honestly, if it went to overtime, I would give it to the Raiders.
You know what? I probably would have too.
Momentum would have shifted because I think for a young team, they would have gotten into Joe Burrow's head.
Burrow's not been there. Jamar Chase hasn't been there. Yeah, I probably would have given it to the Raiders if it went into overtime too.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those scenarios that we can play armchair quarterback all we want. But the end of the day, The Raiders have a big upside going into next season. I know they have a lot of questions they have to answer.
Yeah.
The head coaching position is going to be one first and foremost.
You know what? I'd hire whoever they had filling in. I think he was like the special teams coordinator or something. I'd hire that guy. If for nothing else, then for what he did after the game was over and they were at the hotel, where the photo came out of him writing thank you cards for every player on that team.
Yes.
That is standout, and that is a quality individual.
Yes. Rick Bicasa?
Yep.
That's the guy I think you got to at least give him another year.
You got to give him an interview.
Yeah, absolutely. An interview at the least.
Oh, my God. Listen, I'm not the biggest Raiders fan. I can watch their games, but I saw that and I'm like, you got to give this guy a shot.
Yeah.
Because that's how you unite a locker room around you.
Well, you think about with all the drama that happened with Gruden and then unfortunately with Henry Ruggs and you look at those kind of situations and how this team really fought through to get here. Technically, they shouldn't have been here, but they got hot at the right time. They decided not to play for a tie. Sorry, Chargers.
Yeah.
And they definitely were trying to make some noise. And you can't take anything away from Bicasa and what he was doing with this team. They rallied together. Like, you want to talk about playing team ball? This is how you play team ball.
It's almost like that stereotypical sports movie you see where, like, team looks really good, they're playing really good, go through some hardships, and then they end up winning the championship, except this wasn't a movie.
Right. So this is a situation that they have a lot to build for moving forward.
Yeah.
Cincinnati, though, we have to give them their credit. They did pull off the win.
Yes, they did.
And it's nothing to sneeze at, too. It's just, unfortunately, when the biggest highlight of this game is a blown referee call that had major implications on the rest of the game. And you could say, well, wait, it was the second quarter. It shouldn't have done that. When you have a moment that takes both teams out of their game plan, and you have to have both of them readjust. Cincinnati now was given a gift.
Yeah.
They had to be on the offense and really making sure that the Raiders didn't come back. The Raiders were thrown yet again another curveball. Okay, how do we come back from this one? And they almost pulled it off. I mean, that's the scary thing about this team.
Yeah.
So going into the offseason, they're going to be working on that. But like we say, going back to Cincinnati, they showed a lot of grit for hanging on to win. They do have a very tough task against Tennessee coming up.
Yeah, they do.
But I'm going to tell you this. I like Cincinnati in that game.
Yeah, and I know some people are like, oh, why are you dwelling on, the blown call, no call, whatever you want to call it. Listen, because it's a one-score final score. If it was 2 points, 3-point, and as it actually turned out to be the 7-point differential, that's why it's such a big deal. Mm-hmm. If it was 2 scores, 3 scores, or more, nobody gives a shit. Like it's obviously going to get talked about and it's obviously going to get discussed, but at the end of the day, it's not going to be pointed to as that's one of the reasons why the game went the way it did.
No, but you have to look in the game of emotion.
And, sure.
And you see this throughout any single sporting game. You play with heart. You play with passion. You play with fire. You go in there to win the game. You're not going there for participation trophies. Everybody knew when this game happened, it's a deflating moment. And you have to say that because this, if you think about it, Cincinnati doesn't score here, they go kick a field goal.
Yeah.
What happens after that? We don't know.
Yeah.
The Raiders hold on and make a big stop, which that would have done. That's a big momentum boost and gives them some confidence.
Oh, yeah.
This played such a big factor that it carried through for 2 quarters. And you can say, well, you know what? They should have just been able to move forward. Oh, they did. But you still have to go back to this because this is when things change. You look at every single great sporting event.
Still in the back of their mind.
Yeah, there's a moment that happens in every great game that we all say, okay, this shouldn't have happened, but it did. And look at the impact.
Stolen base on Mariano, Game 4 of the 2003 or 2004 ALCS.
Yeah.
If that base doesn't get stolen, Boston more than likely or probably doesn't make the comeback and beat the Yankees.
Mm-hmm. We talked about the playoffs last year with Kansas City and Cleveland. You can keep going on through the lineage of time. There are moments that define games. Unfortunately, this is one that's going to stand out, and I'm sure there's going to be a rule change next season. I would fully bank on that.
You would think, but I'm not, and maybe this is because I'm not the most football rule, person. I don't know how you go about changing something like this.
Well, I think that this would be a situation where the booth would have to step in New York. Like, you have to do something in that variation. But you know what I would have said,
I think that was one of the issues was it wasn't a reviewable.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Because it was a touchdown, and it ended up being called a touchdown. So it technically was. I don't. Well, listen, Rules and Competition Committee. Good luck figuring this one out.
Yeah, that's what I said. They need to clarify that because technically it should have been reviewed, and if you review it, with all the technology you have,
Yeah.
you hear that whistle.
And you can definitely tell how the NFL felt about it because, what was it, either that night or the next day, it was announced that the officiating crew for that game would not be working the remainder of the playoffs.
Yeah, that's why I fully feel moving forward, they're going to fix that for next season.
You would hope so.
They have to. But Cincinnati moves on. The Raiders, unfortunately, are going home.
Yep.
Next up on the docket.
I think this is probably the game a lot of people are talking about just because of how this game fucking went throughout it and then how it ended, and that was between the San Francisco 49ers and the Dallas Cowboys, taking place in Dallas, Texas, where San Francisco won by the final score of 23-17. Jimmy Garoppolo, 16 of 25, 172 yards passing, no touchdowns, 1 interception. Dak Prescott, 23 of 43, 254 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception.
You know, I said if San Francisco got in here, they were going to make some noise. That defense is deceptively good.
Yeah, they are.
And to shut down the all-stars of the Dallas Cowboys really set a statement.
Ezekiel Elliott, 12 carries, 31 yards, no touchdowns, averaged 2.6 yards a carry. Tony Pollard, 4 carries, 14 yards, 0 touchdowns, averaged 3.5 yards a carry. Amari Cooper, 6 catches, 64 yards, 1 touchdown. CeeDee Lamb, 1 catch, 21 yards, 0 touchdowns. Effectively, Dallas's offense got shut down.
Yeah, they got shut down, and then what do you have after that? Unfortunately, you had some very, very suspect 2-minute drill play calling.
Yeah, and this is with the Niners fans. This is with the Niners doing everything they can to try and blow it.
Yeah, this was a situation where Dallas found a way to snatch failure from the jaws of victory.
And this is with the opportunity of victory being handed to you, not on a silver platter, not on a gold platter, but on a platinum platter.
Yeah, this was a situation that Dallas should have pulled off the big win here.
There was like 3 instances at the end of that game where I'm like, holy shit, Dallas is going to come back and they're going to get it. They're getting handed a golden opportunity here.
Yeah, and then when you see Dak make one of the most questionable calls, running a QB sneak that late with very little time left.
I understand running it. I don't understand running it for as far as he did. And I've said this to a couple of people. I get Dak running if that was the play call or if he looked and there was nothing open. I get, because it was like 1 yard to go or inches to go. It was real close. I get running, getting past that one, because he ran very easily and nobody stopped.
Oh, sure.
I get getting past that 1 yard line and then just immediately dropping.
Yeah.
Just, hey, listen, that's all you need for first down. Why go the extra yardage when you're in the middle of the field, you got no timeouts, and you got all the nonsense you got to deal with after the play's over?
The only thing I can think of, and this is only me speculating,
Sure.
is he thought he had more time than he did.
That could be.
That's the only thing. Now, am I saying he lost track of time? No. But in the heat of the moment, I'm sure what he saw was, okay, I got to get a first down here if I can go down. But let me see how much yards I got. There's not that much time, but I can still get a couple more yards and do something.
Yeah.
Just the unfortunate part of that situation is if you're not paying attention to the clock and you're running, you are going to fall victim to time running out. And especially there is a very big rule that people may not realize at home.
Or they're just conveniently forgetting.
Yes. And that is the referee needs to spot the ball before you can snap it.
And I know Cowboys fans are losing their goddamn minds. I was like, why is the ref got to touch the ball? The ref shouldn't have to touch the ball. No, it's not the ref has to touch the ball. It's not like you run down the field, the ref touches it, and all right, you're good. No, the ref has to set it. Because I'm sorry, I wouldn't trust my team. I wouldn't trust Ken's team. I wouldn't trust any team in the NFL to spot their own ball. You absolutely have to figure, if we're in a parallel universe and the NFL allows the offense to set the ball, if you don't think they're going to try and move it up a couple extra inches, maybe an extra yard because the ref's not there, they're not going to try and take that advantage. You're out of your goddamn mind.
Exactly, and that's something that fans did not realize at the time. Like, okay, that's why the ref was making such a big point to get in there and set the ball. And I know that the Dallas fans throwing something after the game,
Stay classy.
you know, why? There's no purpose for it. And you know, hearing some of the comments coming out, it was like,
well, and I know Cowboys fans are like, oh, even the refs knew they screwed over the Cowboys fans are like, oh, even the refs knew they screwed over the Cowboys. They ran off the field. It got brought up on, I can't remember if it was First Take or the Pat McAfee show, but like, somebody was like, when's the last time, I think it was Pat McAfee show, he was talking with AJ Hawk, where he's like, when's the last time you saw an NFL referee hanging out on the field after the game was over, when you've got both sidelines coming on the field, plus all the team personnel coming on the field, plus the NFL personnel coming on the field, plus the media, plus in all this others, any family coming down on, like, when's the last time you saw a referee hanging out on the field to chum it up with the players and coaches? Like, they always book it off.
They always get out of there, and it's for situations, unfortunately, like this, where the fan emotion definitely was a situation they didn't want to be around, and I don't blame them.
Yeah, and I listened. I said to, I think it was my brother that night, I'm like, they're going to need an escort from another state out of that stadium in that city, because ain't nobody going to want to deal with them.
Well, that's the whole problem, that you unfortunately you got in there and everybody is extremely mad about what happened.
Sure, which I get.
But this is why you play a game.
Yeah.
But it's the unfortunate thing when a game becomes a business.
Yeah.
And everybody has so much invested in it.
Yeah.
That either you're a fan that can play by the rules, or you're so caught up with emotion. But this is something that there's just no place for.
No, and it's not a good look on your fan base if you're throwing things on the field after the game is over. It's not a good look if you're getting into fist fights in the parking lot if after the game is over. Like, listen, I've been to a fair number of Yankee games, and I think and I don't know the exact stats, but I think they've lost more games than I've actually been to. Have I gotten in? Have there been fans of the other team in the parking lot heading out to my car? Yeah. Have I gotten in a fist fight with any of them? No. What the hell is it going to do? It's not going to change the outcome of the game.
Well, that's something that I know Cowboy fans had a tough time dealing with because their team had very high expectations, and I get that.
It looked good.
But you play a game, and the biggest question I would have is, okay, if you want to be mad at anybody, be mad at your own team getting paid that much money and putting up that little of points and stats.
I'll say, look in the mirror. I get you want to be mad at the officiating, and I get you want to be mad at the play calling and this and that. But look in the mirror and the fact that your team got 14 accepted penalties on them. Mm-hmm. That's not counting any that were declined.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing you have to say is your team didn't show up, and a better team won that game.
Yeah.
That's the only way you can describe this moment in time, is the 49ers were playing with house money. They were a wild card team that shouldn't have got in. Point blank.
Yeah, huh?
So now the team that we've been saying this entire season comes from the toughest division in all of football.
Uh-huh.
Got in there and took advantage of an opportunity that they were getting looked past.
Yep.
And they shut down the high-powered offense of the Cowboys. They basically tuned them out and dictated the pace the entire game. What are you going to be mad about? You're going to be mad at anybody? Be mad at your play calling.
Yeah.
Be mad at your players for not executing. But you can't be mad at the officials in this situation. This is not like this. It's not the same as what happened in Cincinnati.
No, and I know that it was said that Dak said that the Cowboys practice that whole scenario in practice all the time. Then it's on you to know the scenario like, hey, the ref has got to spot the ball. There is no fucking excuse for this. And it's funny. I was sitting there going into the wild card weekend going, maybe we should drop the nickname we have for the NFC East division, NFC least. Like, you know what? The Giants, they're not great, but they're not as bad as they used to be. Washington is there. But you know what? Philly made it to the playoffs. Dallas made it to the playoffs. Dallas is looking pretty good. But based off their performances this past weekend, nickname still stays.
No, it owns it. You can't say it doesn't because of
NFC least.
Yeah. And I mean, like I say, I'm not happy with a lot of the comments I was hearing coming from Cowboy Nation and some of the players too about this. Throwing stuff after the game, listen. Why?
Yeah.
Be mad if you're going to be mad at anybody, be mad at your own team because they got punked out. Point blank. In your own house.
Uh-huh.
I hate saying this because Dallas I thought could make some noise, but a better team won, and unfortunately your team came up short and panicked at the end. Let's face it, that's what that was, because if you're going to get mad about the ref trying to touch the ball and actually help you get a playoff, then you don't get the big picture.
And let's face it, there's only a few of your stars actually showed up. Dak is one. He showed up until the last play of the game, and then he didn't. Ezekiel Elliott was basically non-existent. Tony Pollard was non-existent. Amari Cooper had an okay game. As I mentioned, 6 catches, 64 yards, 1 touchdown. But outside that, ain't nobody else did shit.
No, your team didn't show up. I mean, that's the sad point of it, because Dallas has all the potential in the world. But unfortunately, it didn't come through when you needed it to. 49ers implemented their will. It's a weird thing to see, but they came there with nothing to lose, and that's why they're moving on. It's a wild scenario to think about, but that's where we are with this team. And for Dallas, a lot of questions this offseason, surprisingly.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if Mike McCarthy does make it to next season as head coach.
I mean, listen, it's a conversation that I think needs to be had.
Well, I think that you really got to examine what went wrong here and see how do you fix things if you're Dallas.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you could just say it's a bad game. Okay, I'm fine with that. Am I going to say you're going to run to the Super Bowl next season? No. But I think you made great strides. At least you were a contender this season.
Yeah.
I legit thought you might be able to make a deep run.
I mean, I think there's one thing they have to look at, and there's one common denominator, and I think that's Jerry Jones' involvement. That, okay, he's the owner, but I think the days of him being the general manager and the president are just long gone because, listen, the Jacksonville Jaguars have been around since 1995, and they have as many playoff wins as the Dallas Cowboys in that time.
Mm.
And what's been the one common denominator over that entire time span?
Jerry Jones.
Jerry Jones.
Well, unfortunately, this is going to be something Cowboys fans are going to have to deal with for a long time, but San Francisco moves on.
Yeah.
And they don't have an easy task in front of them next week.
Green Bay, good luck.
At Green Bay. Yikes. Next up on the docket pad.
Well, this is a game that I was looking forward to, you were looking forward to, and I'm not going to lie, I turned it off before the second quarter even started, I think. This was the Patriots taking on the Bills, round 3, and Buffalo absolutely shellacked the shit out of the Patriots, 47-17. Josh Allen, 21 of 25 for 308 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. Mac Jones, 24 of 38 for 232 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And you got to give the Bills their credit. They scored on every drive they did, which is something that I don't think you do unless you're playing Madden on easy. And it was the first time in NFL history, regular season or postseason, that had happened.
It was a perfect game.
Pretty much.
And it's weird to say in the echelons of football, perfect game.
Yeah.
But if you look at the breakdown of what the Bills did here, and for record, I am not taking a shot at Pat about this. I'm not taking a shot at Patriots Nation about this. But the Bills implemented their will. They did what they needed to. They showed absolutely no mercy to the Patriots, and they came out swinging.
Oh, yeah, they were ready for the run game. I mean, Damian Harris only had 9 carries, 30 yards. Ramondre Stevenson, 8 carries, 27 yards. I mean, pretty much the only people who showed up on offense were Mac Jones, as I mentioned, the 232 and 2, and then Kendrick Bourne, who had 7 catches for 77 yards and 2 touchdowns. Okay, Jacoby Myers had 6 for 40 and no touchdowns, but outside that, nobody else could catch a goddamn thing. The defense couldn't stop a nosebleed if they tried. Mm-hmm. So it was just another scenario of they got behind the 14-0 after the first quarter, and then it was just pretty much over from there.
We talk about moments in games that really define it. And I think in this game, the interception Mac Jones threw in the end zone.
That was a freak.
But that's the momentum killer right there.
Oh, yeah.
Because I will say this. Mac did everything right there, but it was just perfect timing by Micah Hyde.
Yeah.
That was the only thing you can say about that play. If he's a half second late, that's a touchdown, and the game's 14-7 at that point.
Oh, yeah.
It's a whole different ball game. But when Hyde pulled off that interception, you saw Mac's body language change.
Yeah.
And he's still a young quarterback. We have to remember, he's not Tom Brady. He's still going into his own direction, whatever that's going to be.
Yeah.
But you saw the body language shift that gave a spark to that Buffalo crowd who was losing their absolute minds in sub-degree weather. Ryan Fitzpatrick in the crowd, too. Still haven't figured that one out, but it is what it is. And the Bills came out absolutely on fire. They were showing looks to the Patriots that I think at that point they broke their will. I mean, as wild as it is to say, and like I say, I'm not taking a shot, but this is just what I'm seeing with the eye test. they punched him in the mouth, and the Patriots didn't have a counter back. And everything Mac was trying to do, he couldn't get anybody to catch a ball. How many times was he hitting somebody in the numbers, and they were dropping them?
Yeah.
And is something that, in the flip side, Josh Allen played the best game of his career.
Oh, yeah.
And everything they were doing was right.
Yeah, no, and I know Buffalo fans are sitting there, rubbing it in. Hey, listen, the North don't remember, don't forget, And I know, they don't know how to handle the loss. Listen here, motherfuckers. Y'all lost 4 damn straight Super Bowls in a row. Patriots lost 2 absolute goddamn heartbreakers. Fuck you, David Tyree, and fuck you, Mario Manningham. Sorry, is what it is. That's how I feel. Does the loss hurt? It sucks. It's not the worst thing I've ever felt. I've had to watch my team go undefeated in some absolute nail-biters and shit-my-pants moments during the 2007 season, only to get their hearts broken in the final game of the year. I had to watch them go through another season and lose to the Giants again. I had to watch them lose to the fucking Eagles, and I got 3 plays in my life I can't watch ever again because they just pissed the shit out of me.
Statue of Liberty?
No.
Oh, no.
Philly special.
Philly special.
And the fact that teams are running that these days fucking pisses me off. So does the loss suck? Yeah, it sucks. I don't think anybody sits there and goes, well, I'm glad my team lost. I can enjoy the playoffs now. No. If your team is in the playoffs and they lose, it fucking sucks. But do I not know how to handle it? No. I've sat there and basically had to delete social media for about 3 months after 3 Super Bowl losses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is one of those situations where I'm not rubbing it in anybody's face.
No.
I'm happy my team won and my team looked like a playoff team.
As you should.
Yeah.
As you should. And listen, Mac overachieved for this year. He exceeded all expectations I had for him. I didn't think he'd be the starter guy. I think I said on the previous show.
Yeah, we all thought
that he wasn't going to be the starter, that it'd be some point in the season he might jump in and take over for Cam. But then things went the way they did. And you look at his stats for his regular season stats, 3,801 yards, good for 13th in the NFL, 22 touchdowns, which is tied for 14th in the NFL. And then he had 13 interceptions, which was tied for 19th in the NFL. And then his passer rating was 92.5, which puts him in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He puts him in tied with 8th for all time. Only Dak Prescott, Robert Griffin, Russell Wilson, Justin Herbert, Ben Roethlisberger in 2004, Dan Marino in 1983, Baker Mayfield in 2018 had higher passer ratings than Mac Jones did as a rookie.
No, I mean, the kid's got a big upside to him. I mean, everything for everybody that thought he was going to be Tom Brady Jr., jury is still out. But he was serviceable for what they needed. But this is just, he faced a better team that, quite frankly, they'll see again. And if the Patriots are who I think the Patriots are, they'll be ready for him next time.
They need to make some improvements and make some changes. But, hey, what team doesn't?
Yeah, exactly. And the Bills, we finally saw that Super Bowl contender that everybody was saying from the beginning of the season. They showed up. Josh Allen played a masterful game. I don't know if he turned off the headset and ignored the play calling and just did his own thing. I kind of think so. That's my theory.
Could be.
My opinion.
Could be.
Because I think he definitely looked the best that he's looked, bar none.
Yeah.
I thought Singletary had an amazing game, which I was extremely happy to see we got him going. Dawson Knox played very well. And he spread the ball out, too. That was the one thing I liked that Josh was doing. Because 2 things really stand out for me walking away from this game. One, they made a statement win. And they wanted to send a message to Kansas City that we're ready for you. We're not backing down. And if you thought we're still the same team from last year, you're sadly mistaken. And I think that the Bills wanted to send also a message to everybody else in the league that if you think that we're going to be the same old Buffalo team, we can evolve and we can play well. My only fear going into next week against Kansas City is we have seen this time and time again this season. That the Bills play masterful 1 week, dropping 40 on a team, and then they don't show up the next week.
Buying into their own hype.
Yeah, which I'll be the first one to tell you they do, and it drives me absolutely crazy.
Because listen, I'll say this, and I know I'm not the first person to say it, but it bears reiterating. This Kansas City team you're going up to face against this coming weekend ain't the same Kansas City team that was at the start of the season. Did they have a great start to their game against Pittsburgh? No. But once you got out of that first quarter, they did not punt the ball until late in the fourth quarter. They scored a touchdown on every single possession they had. Their last punt was, I got it here, 7 seconds left in the first quarter. After that, fumble touchdown, 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 and then a punt. Not one field goal, not one interception, not any safeties, straight touchdowns.
Yeah.
Buffalo, congratulations. You played a perfect offensive game against the Patriots. You're going to need a perfect offensive and defensive game against Kansas City. Because if you're not, they're going to burn the shit out of you.
Oh, I agree with you. I fully agree with you. That's why I think they wanted to make that statement game, that they're ready. And I think that they have a big task ahead of them this week. I don't like going to Kansas City to play because I think that in my opinion, there's a lot of favorable calls that go their way. That's my opinion. But this is going to be a situation that the Bills know what they need to do. Can you put enough pressure on Patrick Mahomes to slow him down? Because you know he's going to get his points.
Oh, yeah.
This is not going to be a situation where he doesn't. But the Bills need to be smart about what they're doing. I think they're going to go in there. I think they know from last year, and especially the picture of Stephon Diggs watching the celebration last year is going to be something that the Bills are going to get rally around and come out swinging. Am I saying they're going to blow out Kansas City again?
Hell no.
No, I don't think so.
Hell no.
I'll even give this a point spread right now. I think it's going to be a 35-31 game, and I'm going to take Buffalo in this one.
Current point spread is Kansas City by 2.5.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point spread, too. That I would say if you're watching the lines, expect a lot of movement Saturday. Just saying.
Yeah.
But I'm happy about my team moving on. This was probably the best Bills game I've seen in a long time. Oh, man, there's a lot of good things I can keep ranting and raving about, but I'm being very humble about this because I don't like jinxing my own team.
Unlike other people, you know who you are.
Oh, yeah, they are listening to the show, and Pat is more than willing to have that smoke with you. Enough said there.
Like I said, the North remembers.
Facts. What's next up on the list?
I figure we'll mention quick, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat the absolute shit out of the Philadelphia Eagles, which I'm sure Tom Brady was very happy about, as I mentioned, getting a little bit of revenge personally for that Super Bowl loss, winning by the final score of 31-15. Brady went 29 of 37 for 271 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Jalen Hurts, 23 of 43 for 258 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions.
Short and sweet. Philly looked like pretenders.
Didn't
even look like they belonged in there.
No.
Tom Brady was doing Tom Brady things.
And no, I'm not rooting for Brady to win. But if it gets to that point and it'll just piss off some folks, I'll do it.
Yeah, but in this situation, Brady looked in playoff form. So, So you know they're ready for the Rams next week. So that should be a fun game. I don't know, man. I can't make a call on that right now. I'll have one by the end of the show.
Yeah.
But Brady doing Brady things. Enough said about that one.
Also got to mention, as we talked about it a little bit, but Kansas City ended up beating the Pittsburgh Steelers 42-21. Patrick Mahomes, 30 of 39 for 404 yards passing, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception. Ben Roethlisberger, 29 of 44 for 215 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. And as everyone is figuring, he hasn't said anything officially, but everyone's figuring this is his last game with the Pittsburgh Steelers and probably his last game in the NFL.
Ben looked old and beat up.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
And I was telling anybody that would listen to last week, Kansas City's going to win big. And they showed it. Nothing against the Steelers. The fact they gave Ben one last playoff run.
Yeah.
Kudos. You got a lot of luck to get in there, but Ben is not the same Ben.
No. He's never been the most mobile quarterback, but he's even less mobile than he used to be. The arm just isn't there.
His arm looked like trash.
His arm just isn't there anymore. I don't think this is a case of he'll go around to a few teams before. I think he's done. It's a hell of a career. As many Pro Bowls as he got into and all the stats. Making it to the Super Bowl 3 times and winning 2 of them. Hell of a career.
Yeah, nothing to be shameful about. He has definitely carved his echelon into the football legacy. So, like I say, nothing to be ashamed about playoff-wise and career-wise there.
And definitely added to the list of legendary Steelers.
Yes. So, enough said for them because they're going to have a long off-season to retool, and they'll be back next season.
Well, they got some stuff to figure out. We'll see.
They definitely do. Kansas City. Well, I'm just hoping that you guys decide to do some crazy TikToks and get everybody fired up at you. So, Mahomes family, if you want to get going on that, the Bills like that kind of motivation. So, we'll have some tables ready for Kansas City on that night.
And then last, but certainly not least, we had the Monday night game where you had the LA Rams defeat the Arizona Cardinals 34-11. Matthew Stafford, 13 of 17 for 202 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Kyler Murray, 19 of 34, 137 yards passing, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And hey, shout out Matthew Stafford.
Yes.
Finally getting a playoff win.
Well, you finally get him a line that can keep him upright.
Yeah.
The guy gave everything to Detroit. So, like I say, even the Lions fans, you want to talk about, well, your quarterback left your team. Everybody's rooting for Stafford.
Oh, absolutely.
Everybody's rooting for him. And listen, they did what they were set out to do. This team is built for right now. If the Rams don't come back with the chip this year, it's a failure. And every move they did this year is a failure. They went all in. So to beat their rivals, which, let's face it, Arizona is no slouch of a team.
No.
They're very young. This nonsense I was hearing, though, coming out of Cardinal social media about get rid of Murray and get rid of Kingsbury.
Fucking what now?
Yeah. We are...
Are you looking to chop off your foot in the middle of a marathon race? Why?
I was talking to a mutual Cardinals fan.
Yeah.
And you know who I'm referring to.
Yeah, I do.
And he was showing me the post, and he was just like, I have to leave my chat groups right now from this blasphemy going on.
What the fuck?
And I'm going, yeah, you're delusional if you're not thinking he's the guy. Kingsbury, listen, you can say what you will. He's a college coach that's playing above and beyond right now.
Sure.
That's the easiest way to describe him. It's not a slight against him. It's just...
And I wouldn't even, the way the season went, I wouldn't even necessarily put it on him. Is he at fault? Maybe a little bit. But look at all the injuries you had during there. J.J. Watt missed, half or 3/4 of the season. Mm-hmm. Losing DeAndre Hopkins and just all the injuries that just ended up plaguing you.
Yeah, and it's one thing, it's a rival game. You have to remember that. Like, everybody's forgetting about that. Arizona came in banged up. They didn't have DeAndre Hopkins. And when you take your biggest weapon out of the equation, and let's face it, he is.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to step up. The Rams were waiting on all fronts for anything.
Yeah,
they just wanted it more. It's not to say Arizona didn't want to win, but when you're not 100%, it's very tough to do.
Yeah, when your number one receiver isn't there, it's a lot easier to cover the receivers just because, hey, we don't have to double team this one guy, so we can spread out the defense a little bit and we can cover everybody.
Yeah. So that being said, Matthew Stafford definitely got the W he so desperately wanted and deserved. But now you got to face Tom Brady.
Good luck.
And I don't know how that game is going to go. Like I said, I'll give my prediction at the end of the show for that one. But you're at the dance now. You can definitely hang with him. You played against him earlier in the season. I think it's going to be a different outcome, but we'll see. Like I'm just saying, you're not going to see the same team you did.
Hell no.
That early. I'm just going to say that's what I mean by that. A lot of storylines coming out of the wild card weekend of the NFL. We gave you our takes, but now we want to hear yours. Hit us up on that hashtag ODPH pod. What is your takeaways from wild card weekend and who you got going into the big playoff weekends in the NFL? We want to know. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
If you're into all things comics, you have to check out Take a Knee for Marvel vs. DC, your go-to podcast for comic and superhero discussion, debates, polls, and more. Tune in as Regular Scott and Ozzy Killmonger chat about your favorite comic topics, and you never know who may show up for an open mic or what will be next on their favorite One Gotta Go. Take a Knee for Marvel vs. DC, every Sunday, powered by the Defy Life Podcast Network.
Coming back for another segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast, and we have to talk some UFC.
Yeah, we do.
It's been a hot minute since we've broken down a card, but Pat, we have a pay-per-view this weekend, don't we?
Yeah, so UFC 272 is taking place this Saturday, January 22nd, from the Honda Center. That's in Anaheim, California, for those of you keeping track at home. And why is this fight card so big, Ken? Well, the main event is something to behold. You have the interim champion, Cyril Gane, taking on the official champion, Francis, Stealer of Souls, Ngannou.
Yeah, UFC 270 definitely has a stacked main event.
Yeah.
A lot of drama going on there. But that's not the biggest fight on the card. There's some very solid fights on this one. So, Pat, let's break it down.
Yeah, so we're going to start with the main card. The first fight you got up is in the bantamweight division, and this is taking place between Cody Stamann and Said Nurmagomedov. And yes, he is the cousin of one Khabib Nurmagomedov.
Khabib's cousin is definitely coming into his own. And you have to really remember that there's only one Khabib. And
Facts.
you're not going to have everybody catch lightning in a bottle. So how his cousin's going to play out is very interesting, though. He is on a somewhat good streak, though, right now.
Yeah, so he in 16 professional matches, he has a record of 14 wins, 2 losses. He won his last fight against Mark Striegel via knockout. That was in October of 2020. Lost his fight before that by unanimous decision. That was in 2019. But prior to that, he was on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fight win streak. So he's doing fairly well for himself. On the flip side, you've got Cody Stamann in 24 professional matches, has a record of 19 wins, 4 losses, 1 draw, currently on a 2-fight losing streak, losing both of his last 2 fights by unanimous decision.
Well, I have to say somewhat with Khabib's cousin because, let's face it, Khabib...
Russell's Bears.
Yes. I mean, where else do you go from there? Like, the man has definitely carved his echelon into UFC MMA history.
Oh, yeah.
So it's tough for him to say. But, I mean, Stamann, like you said, lost his last couple by decision. This one is going to be a very, very interesting fight. And I have to say, I don't really have, like, an odds-on favorite, like I'm saying. Like, this is going to be one-sided by any stretch of the imagination. But I'm going to take Stamann in the upset.
Okay.
I think that maybe we'll just kind of take a flyer and see, but I'm not. But I could be proved wrong by Saeed.
Yeah. It looks like currently it looks like currently, according to the odds, that Saeed is a -181 favorite, which is interesting considering, like I mentioned, his last fight was in October of 2020, so it's been a hot minute since he's fought. Meanwhile, Cody has been fighting consistently. His last fight was in May of last year, and then prior to that, it was July of 2020.
But when they do the bookkeeping in this,
that's probably the name.
In my opinion, it's based on the name.
It's the name.
Yeah, you really have to kind of take a look at it. That's just how I look at it. That's my opinion about that.
Yeah, could be. I'm going to say Cody, just because I'm looking at Saeed. He's not Khabib, obviously. 4 wins by knockout, 3 by submission, 7 by decision. I could be wrong, but until proven otherwise, I'm going to say Cody.
Fair enough. Next up
is in the welterweight division, and this is Michael Pereira taking on Andre Fialho, Fialho.
So Pereira is a definitely interesting fighter. I have seen him go a couple times. He is very, very solid, very a little unorthodox in my opinion.
Okay.
And I got to go with the guy I've seen a little bit. So he's going to definitely be implementing a lot of striking in there. Fialho, I have not heard too much of.
Yeah, so he doesn't even have a Wikipedia. For those little peek behind the curtain, I use Wikipedia because they're pretty up to date with all their stuff, and they have nice pages and records and all that, so I can just go there and look at that. Pereira's opponent doesn't even have a Wikipedia page, so I've got to go to SureDog.com, which, hey, there's nothing wrong with SureDog.
No, shout them out.
But looking at the SureDog page, he has a record. Andre Fialho has a record of 14 wins, 3 losses, 1 no contest. He is currently on a 4-fight win streak. Looks like he's making his UFC debut because his last 3 fights were for a federation called UAE Warriors, where he won by holy fucking shit. Won his last fight via knockout, elbow and punches. TKO. Then the fight prior to that, he won by knockout. After that, he won by TKO punches. Then he won his other fight by TKO punches. What the fuck? Lost to Antonio Dos Santos Jr. by unanimous decision for another federation. His 1 no contest was overturned by the Nevada State Athletic Commission. But yeah, no, apparently the dude likes to knock people out because I'm looking at his record. There's a lot of TKOs in here, folks. What the fuck?
Well, I think you'll be in for some very, very exciting fight here because, like I said, it's exciting striking is where I'm trying to go with.
Yeah.
Pereira is definitely somebody that can definitely stand in the pocket and throw some kicks. Doesn't do a ton of grappling.
Yeah.
But he will definitely be in the mix there. And if he wants to throw some hands, he's definitely going to do it. Like I said, he's a little kind of crazy in the cage if memory serves me right.
Yeah, I'm looking at Pereira's record. In 39 professional matches, he has a record of 26 wins, 11 losses, 2 no contests. He's on a 3-fight win streak, defeating Nico Price in his last fight by unanimous decision. That was in July of last year.
Yeah.
He beat Chaos Williams by unanimous decision. That was in December of 2020. And then he beat Zalim Imadev by technical submission, rear naked choke. That was in September of 2020. Does like to knock people out, though. Of his 26 wins, 10 are by knockout, 9 are by decision, and then 7 are by submission.
Like I say, Pereira definitely likes to stand in there and throw in the pocket. I mean, I remember his fight with Nico, and that was a little out of control crazy. So, you got to be excited about that. And this is where you want to come in for fights and definitely see a lot of great action going on. And you really want to set that pace very, very quickly. And especially for Pereira, this is what he does. I mean, obviously it was heartbreaking when he beat Nico because Nico follows the show, so shout out to him.
Hey.
But this is a situation for Pereira. You got to keep that momentum going in this division. And if you're not going to do it, I mean, especially for a guy that's just making his debut, it seems like, for the UFC.
That's what I can, from what his SureDog page said, that there was no UFC listed, so he's making his UFC debut.
Yeah.
And he's going to be in the second fight on the main card.
Yeah. It's big pressure to go on for both fighters. So, like I said, I'm going to take Pereira in this one, but we'll see if there's an upset.
I'm going to take Andre just because the sheer fact that of his, 14 fights or whatever it is, 11 of them are by knockout. That shit scares me.
It definitely does, and, it's a good thing to be scared of because you know that you're going to go in there with somebody that's not afraid to stand in the pocket. And that is something that can be demoralizing to fighters. It can be something that excites you.
Yeah.
Depends on what your style is. And for Pereira, he likes to stand in there with dudes. So we'll have to wait and see how it shapes up from there.
Yeah.
Next up
is the co-main event of the evening, and this is for the UFC Flyweight Championship with Brandon Moreno taking on Devison Figueiredo.
Who would have thunk this fight would have been the hype that it is? I mean, Figueiredo came in, taking over the flyweight division, which we all thought was dead and buried.
Pretty much.
And yet, we now have a rivalry with that division. And how crazy, like literally, how crazy is that to say that we have a flyweight rivalry?
Yeah, no, it's great to see just because, listen, the flyweights get overlooked a little bit just because they're not the sexiest fight. They're not the knockout, fights, but they're still pretty good.
They're still very good. And, I mean, you take a look at what has happened in the last couple of fights. I mean, you got Figueiredo's record in front of you, Pat?
Yes, I do. So Figueiredo in 23 professional matches has a record of 20 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw. Lost his last fight to Brandon Moreno via rear naked choke submission. After that was the majority draw to Brandon Moreno. That was in December of 2020. After that, he was on a prior to that, he was on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fight win streak, winning by guillotine choke, rear naked choke, knockout, TKO, and a guillotine choke, and unanimous decision.
That's the one thing. When Figueiredo got going, and I mean, obviously he ended Benavidez's career.
Yeah.
I mean, sadly, I have no joy saying that, but let's be honest. Everybody thought this was going to be the second coming of a Mighty Mouse-esque fighter in this division.
Yeah.
And then Moreno comes in and is all heart, too. I mean, that's the one thing you got to realize. This kid came in playing with
ultimate babyface.
Yeah. And just literally stole this division and to get one over on Figueiredo. It's the fact that we now have a trilogy fight.
I think I saw a photo the other day of Moreno holding like a Lego UFC because I guess he's a big Lego fan.
Yes,
holding a Lego UFC championship belt, and I'm just like, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Lego, make that for everybody.
And he's a personality too. Like I say, for a division that needs stars, you have something to build on here.
Oh yeah.
I mean, is it going to be the next fight forever? No. But this one, man. All right, I got to make a prediction. I'm rooting for Moreno. But I think Figueiredo.
I'm going to say Moreno.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this is going to be back and forth, but I think Figueiredo can pull off something via unanimous decision.
Okay.
But like I said, I'm rooting for Moreno. I think that, the heart is there, so we'll kind of have to see how this pans out.
Can you imagine if it goes a draw and we got to fight a 4th time?
Oh, jeez.
Good Lord.
At this point, go get Mighty Mouse back. Fix the egregiousness that he is not in your company anymore, Dana.
Greatest trade in UFC history.
Oh, my God. That said, next up.
This is the main event. As we mentioned, is for the UFC Heavyweight Championship. Francis Ngannou, the official champion, taking on Cyril Gane, the interim champion. So looking at the records, Ngannou in 19 professional matches has a record of 16 wins, 3 losses. He's on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fight win streak, knocking out Curtis Blades in November of 2018, knocking out Cain Velasquez in February of 2019, knocking out Junior Dos Santos in June of 2019, knocking out Rosenstruck in May of 2020, knocking out Stipe Miocic in March of 2021, Let's see. He also knocked out Alistair Overeem and stole his goddamn soul.
Most vicious knockout I've ever seen in MMA history.
Knocked out Andrei Arlovsky as well. His only two losses are two of his three losses. One of his losses came very early in his career, December of 2013. But then his other two losses came to Derek Lewis in July of 2018. That was a unanimous decision. And then Stipe Miocic beat him by unanimous decision in January of 2018.
Well, the one thing we have to remember with those losses, though, too, I mean, the Derek Lewis fight was just a weird fight. Both those guys respected each other's power way too much.
Yeah.
They wouldn't throw.
Wasn't it like a ballroom dance for the entire damn thing?
Yeah. It was a bad fight. There was nobody won in that one.
No.
And then we have to remember the first time he fought Stipe, Ngannou did not have a wrestling game.
That's true.
But the second time he did, and the first time that Stipe shot on him, and he got stuffed, you saw fear in that man's eyes. I'm sorry. Miocic went in there and went oh, shit, what do I do now? That is what Ngannou does, because he is arguably the most dangerous fighter in all the UFC.
Like I said, the man steals souls.
Yeah, it's arguable between him and Kamaru Usman. That's probably 1-2 right there. So to see him go into this fight against Ciryl Gane, who is as technically sound as a fighter can be, especially for the heavyweight division.
Oh, yeah.
This is going to be a true test for Ngannou. I know people are saying, well, how? I mean, Ngannou just goes there and knocks people out. Ciryl Gane is trained in the past.
He's unlike Francis Ngannou, where I look at the breakdown of how his wins have gone, where it's 12 by knockout, 4 by submission, 0 by decision. Where it's probably going to go one of two ways, and it's probably going to be a knockout. But you look at Ciryl Gane, 10 professional matches, 10 wins, 0 losses. He's beaten Derek Lewis in his last fight via TKO. Beat Alexander Volkov by unanimous decision in June of 2021. Beat Rosenstruck by unanimous decision in February of last year. Knocked out Junior Dos Santos in December of 2020. And then you look at the breakdown, 4 by knockout, 3 by submission, 3 by decision. This ain't going to be a walk in the park for Ngannou. Ciryl is the interim champion for a reason, and he's very well rounded.
This is going to be a true test. This is really going to be a test for him to see how elevated his game is, because especially for a fighter that has trained with you and knows you, you have to bring a different look to the fight. You have to do something different.
Yeah.
If you're Ngannou, I'm not sure what you're going to bring necessarily. I mean, I'm sure that he is going to bring something, because let's face it, the camp he's currently training in is the best camp in all of MMA. Elevation.
Oh, yeah.
The fact you're training with Justin Gaethje and company there. Let's be honest about this. They're breeding a new type of fighter in that camp, and they're going to be winning championships left and right. So to see Ngannou come in for this one, and I mean, obviously there was a little drama about why he hasn't fought before, and I know that contract talks have come up again too. Could that be a distraction that Gane takes advantage of?
Maybe.
It's something that if I'm Ciryl Gane, I'm playing with house money here. And I know that he's the favorite right now according to the Vegas line.
Yeah.
Which is something that I'm kind of surprised at.
Yeah.
But then again, I'm not. Because the one thing that we need to remember is Gane is as typically technical as it gets. Is he a flashy guy on the microphone? No. But he's as sound as you get in all the elements of MMA.
Yeah.
I think he's going to give Ngannou some fits. I still think at the end of the day, via split decision, Ngannou retains.
Ooh, okay.
But let me say this. I wouldn't doubt this being a split, and I wouldn't doubt this being close enough to run it back immediately.
Right.
Because after this fight, there really is nobody at heavyweight that's screaming, give me a title shot.
No.
I'm sorry. And you can say whatever you want about the John Jones thing. He's not even registered on my radar.
Done. He's done.
Yeah. So I will not be hearing any comments about this. But we have to take a serious contention of this, that I'm not doubting if this fight is seriously close, we're going to see this. And it makes a lot of sense. If they do run it back, if it's as close as I think it's going to be. If it's not, and one of the fighters is definitely implementing their will and carving their spot in the cage and definitely saying, come and get me, then, okay, we have a different story to talk about. But looking at their rankings and looking at everybody who's in the mix right there, I mean, you got Miocic again. You got Derek Lewis, but I mean, he's already booked for another fight, I believe.
Right.
And plus, I don't think they would give it to him after he just got destroyed by Gon. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense to me. Curtis Blades, maybe you could kind of sneak in there. Volkov does not impress me one bit. So I'm just saying, is there anybody else that could like leapfrog and jump up there?
I don't know.
I'm not seeing it. I'm sorry. It's not happening on my watch. So this is going to be kind of a very interesting fight to see moving forward, but especially if Ngannou retains.
Yeah.
Then who's next? Would you have somebody jump up from lightweight or light heavyweight to face him? I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know. But there's going to be a lot of answers getting revealed to all of us on Saturday night, UFC 270, live from Anaheim, I believe.
Yes, it is.
So definitely make sure you check out that fight wherever you watch your pay-per-views from, and definitely hit us up on the hashtag ODPHpod. Who do you got for this fight? We gave you our picks. Pad, who you got for the main?
I'm going to say Ngannou. I was looking up the notable fighters attached to the camp Ngannou's fighting out with, and shit, that scares me.
Yes, and I'm taking Ngannou too, just for that single reason. There is a lot of storylines going on with this card that, like I say, we have got so much to talk about, so let's take it outside the podcast and on the social media accounts. Hashtag ODPHpod. Let's talk about it, shall we? We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
This is Tom from Tom Joe Lou,
This is Matt from Sideroom Sounds.
and you're listening to ODPH Podcast.
Wanna go where no one knows my name, to the desert, the oceans, or the plains. 'Cause I wanna...
Coming back for the final segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast. Pad, what you got for those last call minutes?
Yeah, I got to talk some local news because it is still Binghamton Black Bears hockey. Looking at the standings, they're in 5th place with a record of 13-13-0. They've got Carolina, Danbury, Columbus, and Watertown ahead of them. Looking at their schedule from this past weekend, they won their game on Friday against the Danbury Hat Tricks by the final score of 8-3. Good Lord. Wait till you hear the score of this next game, because they came back right the next night playing Danbury again. Lost by the final score of 10-7.
What?
Defense optional in that game.
Jesus.
Apparently in that game. Goalies, go home. We don't need you. And then lost their game on Sunday to the Watertown Wolves by the final score of 6-3. Looking ahead to their games they got this coming week, they got a couple of home games going on. They've got a home game Friday, January 21st, 7 o'clock Eastern, taking on the Delaware Thunder. And then they got another home game Saturday, January 22nd, also at 7 o'clock Eastern, taking on the Danbury Hat Tricks. More news, information, and tickets, go to BinghamtonBlackBears.com.
So let's keep it local and talk about Excite Wrestling. So Johnny Stock 2022.
Which is still the greatest poster I've ever seen.
Oh my God, yeah, I got to remember to do a TikTok about that later on ODP Parlay Hour.
I got to talk to Moose about getting like a 40 by 36 poster of that damn thing. I want to hang it in my apartment.
Dude, we can hang it down here in the studio. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
I laugh every time I see it. Like, I can't even talk when I'm looking at it, so I have to like click off the picture. But the show that Moose is titling the Super Show, Saturday, February 5th at the X. ExciteWrestling.com for more information about that. They have announced the card.
Ooh.
So the main event is going to be a little rematch from 2CW, I believe, and that is MLW's Davey Richards. You know him from the Wolves. Is coming up here and taking on the one and only Jay Freddy.
Wow.
And then they just announced the special match, which is Cloudy taking on Impact Wrestling's Ace Austin.
Ooh.
Now, if you haven't seen Ace, Ace is freaking fantastic.
I've seen clips.
He's gonna be the next big thing. Guarantee you that. We also have an interesting tag match with Pat Sawyer and Sean Carr taking on TJ Epics and Dante Drago. Ooh. Now, if you saw the events of what happened after the ladder match, which was insane,
yeah,
you kind of figured this might be happening. So we'll kind of see the fallout in the new faction that is formed between Carr, Sawyer, and LSG.
I'm seeing bright things in their future.
Oh, I can't wait to see them.
Although that could just be the stars if they super kick me.
This is very, very true. We are known to see that happen. So, you never know at an Excite show. It can all go down. We're also going to have on the card, The Awakening is coming back. So Cade and G-Raver's coming back. Super excited to see him. Taking on Hired Gun Inc. And that's Brute and Garrett Holiday. So definitely some tag team action going on there. Nick Ando is taking on Super B Salvia. And Super B does
All
follow the
right.
show, so shout out to him. Mike Skyro's taking on Axel Lennox. All that and more to be announced. ExciteWrestling.com for information on that. And Twitch.tv/Excite, spelled XCITE. Wrestling. You can watch the show if you're not able to make it here locally. But you definitely want to track them down to the X if you can. It's always a fun time. That up, Pad. Let's talk some more wrestling, shall we?
Sure.
So the biggest event going on this week is GCW's The World on GCW, which I can't stress enough. Go watch on Fight.tv if you have the abilities to. It's going to be one of the best cards going on. But AEW has been making some run to make some news.
Leave it to TK to not be able to handle being out of the spotlight.
Right. So we did get the announcement today that the one and only Jon Moxley will be appearing on Dynamite this week.
Well,
so
that's a surprise.
Yeah, so he'll be appearing ahead of his GCW World Title defense against Homicide at the Heim Emerstein this Sunday. What is your thoughts about Moxley returning to AEW before the show?
I mean, Excite Wrestling. AEW got caught with their pants down a little bit, I think, because it got, for those of you who don't know, it got announced, over the weekend, like Saturday, Sunday, that Moxley was going to be appearing at the GCW show the following weekend, to which, and I know Rich called this before on 607 TWS when it was live streamed before it was announced on social media, that, AEW was going to scramble to get Moxley back on AEW TV because word was TK wasn't happy, Tony Khan wasn't happy that Moxley's first appearance was going to be on GCW, not AEW. Listen, AEW, you got caught with the pants down. Let's call a spade. I know AEW fans might not like it when I say that, but hey, it is what it is. Moxley is one of your most popular talent you have on that roster. If it were planned that you were going to have him back on television, ahead of his GCW thing, you would have had it planned already. You would have had a graphic up for, hey, Jon Moxley is going to return next week into a thunderous ovation and people applauding and cheering and chanting well-wish things. I don't know what they would chant, congratulations or something. But the fact that you didn't do that, you didn't plan that, and then you announced all of 24 hours essentially his appearance, and hey, by the way, he's going to be on AEW. Let's face it, you got caught.
Yeah, we just got the press release, or press photos, I should say, from AEW, and they're announcing about the debut of Moxley, or return, I should say.
Yeah.
Because it feels like a debut, because
it's been a while.
Yeah, we haven't seen him on. But yeah, this definitely feels like they want to steal some GCW thunder.
Yeah.
Not happy about this. Not at all. But it'll be cool to see John back in AEW. I'm not sure what the storyline is going to be to see him return.
Yeah.
I would assume that he's probably going to be helping Eddie Kingston out and taking care of some business there.
Probably.
But we'll kind of have to wait to see, because obviously Moxley is going to be a force to be reckoned with, and I mean, all signs point to him at the Hammerstein. I can't wait to see that match. And I think that's going to be the bigger Jon Moxley appearance this weekend. Just saying right now. But definitely make sure to check out AEW Dynamite this week to see Jon Moxley's return to the programming. Going to be on TBS. Have to keep reminded of that. TBS, Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we also did get some more AEW news that definitely made some ripples, shall we say?
Sure.
What you got, Pat?
So that was the news that, and this was tweeted out by Sean Ross Sapp yesterday as we record, where he said, quote, Cody Rhodes is a free agent working without an AEW contract. Fightful Select has learned. He's the current AEW TNT champion. He went on to say there have been probably 6 or 7 foregone conclusions, in quotations, contracts of they're leaving or they're staying, both of those in quotations, or they're lifers, in quotations, that have went the opposite way over the past year. So what that entirely means is it sounds like Cody's without an AEW contract, but he's still working AEW. Now, I know some people are going to say, well, wait, he's an EVP. From what has been reported towards the end of last year, that's just in name only, that he doesn't actually show up to production meetings and whatnot. The Tony Khan has kind of pulled back the reins a little bit on that. I think, listen, and I know I speculated on 607 TWS that there is some smoke to this. I'm sitting back and thinking about it. I think Rich is right that it's just a clerical thing that hey, listen, Cody's personal life has been a little busy between the baby and family stuff he's had going on. That's just, hey, listen, it ain't taking priority right now. That I think it's just a case of, hey, it's a clerical error. They'll get through it.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, I'm putting any stock on this. I mean, he's not going back to WWE. Let's be honest about this.
Oh, hell no.
If anything,
pigs would fly.
Yeah, if anything, it'd be a one-off in the Royal Rumble if they really wanted to make some noise.
I don't see that doing for all the as much as it's irked Vince supposedly that AEW beat NXT in the rating. Like, you really think he's going to let one of the quote-unquote EVPs of another company onto his show? No.
Absolutely not.
He'd get eliminated. If that were the case and he did let him on there, he'd get eliminated faster than Santino Marella did.
Yeah. So he's not going there. The only thing I would say, if, and I stress if, Cody was not re-signing with AEW and he still wanted to wrestle, he'd do the indies like he did before.
I think, if anything, he's either A, going to stay with AEW, or B, he'll retire and just do his other ventures. Like, he's got his TV show and he's got the big show or whatever that TBS reality show is called. You know, he's got his fingers in some other ventures. I think he would go that way.
Yeah, it definitely could happen on that. So have to stay tuned for that. But for more wrestling coverage, you know we have another Blogs Count Anywhere coming out on ODPHpodcast.com. And definitely remember to check out 607 TWS this week, where we have a lot to say about GCW and more. So definitely stay tuned for that. Man, sorry, my chair is making some noise here, so bear with it. Well, Pat, what you got?
Got to talk a couple of baseball things. No, we don't have any update on the lockout. They're still not talking to each other, and there's that whole mess. But we did get some interesting updates to Sunday Night Baseball. Of course, that's the broadcast on ESPN. It's been nigh unwatchable the last couple of years because you had Matt Vasgersian, who's great, Alex Rodriguez, who's enough said. But it's getting a very great improvement, I would say, with Carl Ravitch, kind of ESPN's main baseball figurehead, I guess you could say, taking over the play-by-play duties. He's being joined in the booth by Eduardo Perez, who's going to be an analyst during the broadcast. They've worked together. I know when the COVID pandemic was going on and Major League Baseball was shut down, they would do like early 5 a.m. Korean League baseball games on ESPN, which was, hey, as somebody who got up real early, it was awesome to turn on baseball at 5 a.m. Holy shit, that was awesome. But then also joining them in the booth will be the Yankees' own David Cone.
Let's go.
And for those of you who are not in the tri-state area of New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut and don't get Yes games, unless you subscribe to MLB TV, David Cone is really fucking good. He is one of the smartest minds in baseball when it comes to pitching, and I could listen to him talk pitching all day. So that will be a very welcome addition to Sunday Night Baseball, making Sunday Night Baseball awesome. But if you are one of the probably few folks who are going to miss Alex Rodriguez, don't worry, he won't have to go far. For 8 games on ESPN2, Alex Rodriguez will be joined by commentator Michael Kay. Of course, he's the play-by-play man for Yankees broadcasts on the Yes Network. They're going to be doing a broadcast kind of like the Manning casts, where, of course, if you don't watch those, it's got Peyton and Eli talking about the game, breaking down the game, and also bringing on past and current current players for a while, and then that whole curse happened, but then also some figureheads, and have them talk. So that might be something to see. Alex Rodriguez is damn near unlistenable too, but I don't mind Michael Caine, and depending on who they get, it might be interesting.
Coney on the broadcast, enough said. I'm in.
Yeah, and then with some Yankee news, while there is still lockout, they can't sign any, major league players. They can still sign international talent, and it was announced on the 15th, that they had signed the top international prospect, Roderick Arias. He's expected to sign with the Yankees. He is a 17-year-old switch hitting shortstop, and was watching some videos posted online. Dude can hit.
Yeah, dude's got some
power. Dude's got some pop. He's got, reading from an article on pinstripealley.com, he has above average range, great hands, and solid footwork. His arm is a positive attribute too, strong and accurate. Overall, he is a comfortably above average fielder at the game's hardest position and could improve with professional coaching. So sounds like the Yankees are building up quite the little international farm system they got between him and Jason Dominguez. Listen, look up the video, folks. He's a switch hitting outfielder with power. What the fuck?
Yeah, I can't wait to see him in pinstripes.
But it'll be a few years. Dominguez is like 18, maybe 19 years old, and this new kid, Arias, is 17 years old. So it'll be a while, but hey, the future's looking bright.
Get him to the show. That's what I say. Just bring him up already.
I'm saying we do need a shortstop. That is true.
Yeah, you know what? It'd be a great story. Make it happen.
Yeah.
So let's close this edition of the ODPH out by giving our predictions for the Super Bowl, a playoff run here with the divisional weekend.
Yeah, so looking at, we're going to be going in order of broadcasts and on the day. So looking at the Saturday slate of games, first up at 4:30 Eastern on CBS, you have the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Tennessee Titans, where currently the Titans are a 3.5-point favorite.
I like Joe Burrow and company in this one. I think Tennessee, even with Derrick Henry coming back, I don't think they're going to be that strong enough to handle a team that really had a gritty win against the Raiders, which they shouldn't have gotten. But they definitely are going to hang tough with them. I'm going to say this will probably be maybe a 28-21 win.
I like the Cincinnati pick as well. Listen, it's nothing against Tennessee, just Cincinnati's playing on a whole different level. They're in a class above. So hey, it was a good run for Tennessee, but unfortunately the clock is about to strike midnight.
Yes.
And then taking place at 8:15 on Fox, you have the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Green Bay Packers, and currently the Green Bay Packers are a 5.5-point favorite.
Green Bay at home, and it's cold.
Oh, so yeah, you know what? I just closed the window. I got to look and see what the weather forecast is going to be because, hey, it's January and it's Green Bay. It's going to be fucking cold. Oh my good goddamn. Yeah, so look, this is according to AccuWeather. In Green Bay, Wisconsin on Saturday, the game time weather is 13 degrees.
Yep.
And partly cloudy, so it's going to be fucking cold.
And this plays right into Aaron Rodgers' hands. Like, listen, I think San Francisco is going to give him a lot of trouble. I really do. But at the end of the day, Aaron Rodgers is on the farewell tour from Green Bay. Allegedly?
Yeah.
So we'll kind of have to see, when he's on that tour, he's usually untouchable. So I think that they're going to win outright on this one. I don't have a point spread, though. I think it might be a little closer than we think.
Yeah, it could be.
But I think Aaron Rodgers is going to do Aaron Rodgers things late.
It's Aaron Rodgers. It's at home. It's colder than fucking shit out there. Mm-hmm. He's real pissed off. Give me it all day.
Yeah, enough said there.
And then switching over to the Sunday games. First up, 3 p.m. Eastern on NBC, you have the LA Rams taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And currently, as we record, Tampa Bay is a 3-point favorite.
That makes sense. Okay, that line is a lot closer than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Matt Stafford pulled off the big win, so now he has a playoff win under his belt. He's heading to face Tom Brady and company in Tampa. This is not an easy task for anybody. I think Tampa Bay is going to pull this one off, though. I think the Cinderella story for Stafford and company is done.
Yeah.
And I think I could see this one. This one could be a lot bigger win margin than we all think. Like maybe 2 scores.
Yeah. Listen, Tom Brady is going to have a better game against the LA Rams than he did in his Super Bowl game against the Rams. Mm-hmm. That is going to be a higher scoring game. I like the 2 scores. I might even say 2 scores plus a field goal.
Yeah, it could be something. I'm not going to say a complete blowout, but
no.
I think that you could see a win margin of 13 here.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. And then lastly, and maybe leastly, taking place at 6:30 p.m. Eastern on CBS is the Buffalo Bills taking on the Kansas City Chiefs, where as we record, Kansas City is a 2.5-point favorite.
Well, this one is going to be something special to see. I expect defense to go out the window, but I think it's the Bills' time. I think that now going to Kansas City, they know what they need to do. Patrick Mahomes and company, I think, has been playing with a little luck on their side, so to speak. They're not the same Kansas City team we've seen the past couple of years. I think this one is going to be a slugfest. I would take the over if I'm gambling. And I definitely like the Bills to sneak this one out. Pad?
Nuclear fallout. Zombies are going to overrun the field and kill everyone.
He's not bitter, folks. He's really not bitter, I swear. This one, we all know where Pad stands on this, so he's definitely not taking the Bills Mafia.
Is there a way for them both to lose and be eliminated? Because if so, I'll take it.
I'm sure you will. I know you're not rooting for any team on this one, so
nope.
We'll have to wait to see how this all plays out Sunday night. So a lot of great football to be watching. So make sure we're interacting on hashtag ODPH pod because we definitely have a lot of thoughts to say about this game's going on this weekend. That all being said, we have a little treat for everybody. We finally have that new Brian Wolf song.
Hey-o.
Yes, entitled The Punch. So you can find that on all great music platforms. But, Pat, if I want to find out more about Brian, where do I go?
ODPHpodcast.com.
Right on. Swinging over the music section. Check out everything going on with him. Check out everything going on with Floodlands. Just talked to Tom from Floodlands today. He said they have some new music coming very, 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 very shortly. He would not allude to any more. But you want to get on board with everything they're doing. Shout out the Robots. Always fantastic people. You need to get supporting them. Second Suitor, Tom Jolo, Yard Party. The list goes on and on and on. And that's the people that you need to be supporting. And that's why we have all their links there. Also, speaking of links, the directory. Pat, how many links do we have to the ODPH?
17,008.
So if you want to find your favorite podcast, and we appreciate your support because the numbers back that up, you can go to the directory and find us on your favorite podcast player. Just hit follow, subscribe, and we come to you each and every week. It's that simple. Check out the classifieds while you're there, too, as well as organizational links supporting Black Lives Matter, friends of the show, all the amazing pod groups we are in. So shout out to the Inner Circle, the aPODalypse, 607 Podcasts, A122 Productions. It's a big, big wealth of knowledge to swing through there and see all the great people that are supporting us because we'd like to return the favor in tenfold. Parlay Points, the blog section, new blogs dropping this week. The TeePublic store. New designs are up right now. You know you want to get that ODPH swag. All that and so much more. ODPHpodcast.com. That's all I got for this week. So for the one and only Padawan J.
Congratulations to Willie O'Ree. He is getting his number 22 jersey raised to the rafters in the TD Garden. Why is that important? In 1958, on this day, he became the first black player in the NHL. So
Awesome.
Congratulations to him.
Very, very cool.
Also, fuck the Astros.
I'm your host, Ken. Thank you as always for listening to the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. See you next time.
Gonna be down to the punch. I'm gonna be down to the punch. 'Cause they can't bring me down if I'm already under the ground. I'm gonna try to make 'em laugh. I'm gonna try to make 'em laugh. 'Cause a laughing man's got nothing to say about me. They're judging only by what they can see. This behavior goes way back.